Hey, it's your Flip Coach, and I wanted to continue the conversation from the video I posted a few days ago, which was the three main areas of real estate investing. These are the most common ways of people that get into this industry, which was wholesaling, fix and flip, and buy and hold. And I also talked about how they're all intertwined. It really starts with wholesaling and then learning how to sort of cherry pick your fix and flip properties, your rehab projects, and even buy and hold if that's something else that you're going to be doing in real estate. So I broke down wholesaling, and today I'm going to break down for you a little bit more of the fix and flip. Now, I can't do the entire A to Z, but to give you an idea of what this type of investing entails. And one of the reasons why I want to do this as well is because a lot of people have unrealistic ideas that they get from HGTV shows. The numbers are unrealistic, the time frame, what it takes is unrealistic. So let's get right into it and let's really talk about what it is to have a fix and flip project. So again, we looked at a property, it's distressed, we were going to wholesale it, and now we realized, hey, we could probably make twice the profit if we did a rehab project on it. Now, obviously, you're not going to know that until you run some quick numbers. So what I want to do is just sort of break down the process for you in simple form of how we determine whether it's going to be a rehab project or not. So first thing that you want to do is you want to determine the major points of the property. You want to determine how old the roof is, and most likely that's going to come from permitting. You're going to have to either look online, or if they don't have the records online, you go to the building department or call the building department and ask them when the last time the roofing permit was pulled to replace the roof, not repair the roof, but to replace the roof on that house. And for a shingle roof, if you don't have at least, shingle roofs for the most part are 15 to 18 years of shelf life. So if your shingle roof is 10 years or older, then most likely you're going to have to put a roof on that house, because the house is not going to qualify for insurance for your buyers when you go to sell the property, because if the bank, says, or the insurance company says, hey, this roof is pretty much at the end of its life or getting close thereof, then your rates on your insurance are going to be higher, and so that's going to be more difficult for people to qualify. So again, we look at the permit history to see for our shingle roof, if our shingle roof having 15 to 18 years of normal shelf life to it, has more than 10 years, it's been more than 10 years since they put a new roof on, you're probably going to have to replace the roof. If it's a barrel tile, which have closer to 25 to 30 years, again, same thing. If you don't have at least 10 years of 7 to 10 years of life left on that roof, then most likely you are going to have to replace it. Now, you can do your rehab projects without replacing your roofs. Just realize you're going to have to lower the price. You're probably going to have to give a credit to the buyer, because the buyer is going to have to be someone that's going to have to put a roof on that house eventually, because the insurance payments are just going to be too high. Okay. Now, when it comes to other things like your air conditioner, your water heater, those are more easy to determine, because usually you can see right on the units themselves what the manufacturing date is. And for an AC unit, if it's more than 10 years old, you're probably going to have to replace it. Same thing with a water heater. When it comes to the kitchen, you can visually look at the kitchen, at least talk to your seller and determine, or see when the last permit was pulled, depending upon how long ago that it was. But you'll be able to determine that also by looking at your comparable properties. Your comparable sales in the neighborhood is one of the first places that you start after you determine all of the condition of the property and what you're going to have to do to the property. Part of what helps you determine that is your comparables. If you look at the area properties in the area, and the golden rules are, you don't want to go more than a half a mile out, usually a quarter mile, and definitely staying in the same development if you can. And then also, you don't want to go back in sales more than 6 months. If you have to go back a year, you can go back a year, but if you can find all of your comparable sales in the last 3 to 6 months, that are within basically, a quarter mile in the same development as your property. And we're looking for apples to apples. If it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,800 square feet, we want our property to be 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,800 square feet. Year built, if it's, 1980, then we want, at least it built around that time as well. So you want to compare, as much similar properties as possible. And that's also going to help you determine what your after repair value is. If those types of properties in the area are selling for $500,000, then that's what your property hopefully is going to sell for as well. Then you basically determine, okay, here's the condition of my property. What would it take for me to get my property to look like and be in the same condition as this property that sold for $500,000? Well, the property that sold for $500,000 has a brand new roof, has brand new water heater, has brand new AC, and has hurricane impact windows. So if my property has an old roof, has an old AC, does not have hurricane impact windows, then I'm pretty much going to have to do those same things in order to get that price. Same thing with the kitchen. This property that sold for $500,000, they opened up one of the walls. A lot of the houses in the neighborhood are sort of built similarly. You'll find that happens a lot. So they opened one of the walls, they opened the kitchen, they used Carrera countertops, and they didn't go cheap for mica or something. They went a little bit higher end, and they used nice 42-inch shaker cabinets, white cabinets, stainless steel appliances. Well, that's the same thing you're going to have to do to your house. Let's say the $500,000 house has some of the original tile that was in the house, and your house has similar original tile. Then maybe you can save some money and say, okay, well, if their houses are selling for $500,000 and they didn't change all the flooring out, maybe they only changed the flooring in the living room and dining room and kitchen, but they left the bedrooms and the hallways and everything else. So you make those determinations while you're looking at your comparable properties to see how much of the actual repairs that you need to make. But if all that property selling for $500,000 have all brand new flooring, then that's going to mean all brand new flooring for you as well. And again, don't look at if they're putting in vinyl or even a really high-end laminate flooring. Don't go marble in your house. Go with basically the same finishes. The comparable properties will tell you everything from what materials that you need to use and upgrade to also even what colors. If everybody's using the same color schemes of white, grays, and maybe a dark charcoal accent, that's what I like to do on a lot of the outside of my properties. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. So do the same thing. Just cookie cutter the same thing that the other properties that sold use the same materials and the same colors that they did. So once you've determined all of this and you said, okay, this is what it's going to cost me to fix up this house. Let me run all of my numbers, which again, you need to put the numbers of what it was going to cost for you to buy the house, what it's going to cost for your holding costs. You're paying electric, the lights are on, you're paying for water because you have a pool, you're paying interest on your money. And then you have to determine, what is it going to cost if I do have to permit? How much in permit fees do I have to pay? What's it going to cost for me to get that new roof and new AC and new kitchen and painting and landscaping and everything else? And then you're also going to have to determine what is it going to cost when I sell the property. You have to pay a commission. You might pay full 6% commission because you had a listing agent list it for 3% and the buyer's agent's getting 3%. We list all of our properties under my license or my business partner's license because we're with 100% brokerage. And so we don't have to, take a commission. So we save ourselves 3% there, but we still have to pay a 3% commission, and you're still going to have closing costs as the seller as well. So you have to make sure that you itemize all of those things in your costs. It's not just as simple in HGTV where you say, we bought it for $300, we put $50,000 into it, and we sold it for $400,000 and made a $50,000 profit. I guarantee if those were the real numbers of what they bought it for, what they put into it, and what they sold it for, they did a real good job of losing money. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. And once you have all of those numbers, very important things that on a rehab project, on a fix and flip, when you close on the property, you'd like to start day one if you can. Sometimes I've even started on the demo a few days early if I have a good seller on my hands that we're working well together with, and they've already moved out of the property, so they don't care. But you really want to start as soon as possible, and you want to make sure your timelines are congruent. And there's always going to be challenges there. I mean, you got to find your contractors. You've got to make sure you're getting all the right pricing, and you've got to make sure that you understand the market and your comparables, and that you've cost everything out and put the right budget out for the property. And you also want to make sure that you're consistently checking up on your property. You want to make sure that you're also maintaining the the property itself, like the yard and everything. Make sure you're keeping the grass cut. You don't want to get violations while you're doing your rehab projects. So there's a lot of more moving parts. There's a lot more expertise and knowledge that you need to have. You're also going to be, relying on a lot more people, because you're going to have painters and flooring people and all of this, roofing contractor, AC contractor. This isn't all done by the same, person. So you're going to have a lot more relationships built up. So there's a lot more involved, obviously, than wholesaling. But again, it's a matter of the time that you're spending on it and the money that you're making on it. Yes, you're going to spend a lot more time on a rehab project than you are on a wholesale project. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But if you're making twice as much money, it might be worth it to you. You might say it's not really worth the extra time. I'm just going to wholesale. But sometimes, there are cases where you make more than twice your money on a rehab project. And once you get going, and once you've got your crews and everything else, or even a project manager, you're not necessarily spending that much more time on your rehab projects to make double or even, triple the money that you would make doing a wholesale. So those are some things that you want to kind of, keep in mind, to just give you a little bit more of an idea about rehabbing, what it takes, and it is worth the extra money. But again, it's going to determine, how many projects you've done, what experience that you have, and knowledge that you gained. It will take a little while to get there. You're going to make some mistakes in the beginning, but that's, all about being an entrepreneur and an investor. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more an idea of what it entails to do a rehab project. And I'll be posting another video in a day or so on fix and flip, doing a little bit deeper dive into that as well, to again give you the full idea of wholesaling, fix and flip, and buy and hold. So be looking out for that buy and hold video. And until that time, happy investing.